Whoa, you're starting strong, Glenn. I would say this is what I bang on about all the time is for us to own our creativity a bit more, meaning can we start with our own ideas before we dive into just clicking all day long and, using ChatGPT without any sort of mind to it. So that's what I will always bang on about because I do believe that there's a place for us. We're not going to be kind of losing all the jobs and robots coming in anytime soon next year. Yes, the world is changing. It will continue. Yes, it's scary. I feel all those feelings like everyone else. But equally, I try to empower us all to believe that our taste, our imagination, and our creativity is very valid in this entire process that we're going through.
Welcome to The Fix. Sit down with copywriting experts Nick O'Connor and Glenn Fisher as they review, discuss, and improve real-world copy sent in by you. This is The Fix.
So I'm recording this episode off the back of we've just run a Fix Fest, which is our little creative copywriting event. And unfortunately, by the time I discovered you, it was too late to get you on the bill because you would have been perfect. But we came out of that with kind of what you summed up in the opening there, in the sense that it's AI really is a way of supporting creativity. And you're someone who's been looking at not just AI, but all of technology and how that can support creativity. And I want to dig into your past and how you've got to where you are now, because it's fascinating and it's blown me away as I've been learning more about you. But before we get to that, I want to continue about that, where we are right now with AI at the forefront of everybody's mind. How are you using AI in your company?
Just speed up the processes, to do the admin that, it just takes unnecessarily too much time. And, again, I always talk about futures looking like fewer jobs, but better. So I want my team to feel empowered to do the work that they kind of always wanted to do more, which is a bit more thinking, a bit more strategizing, a bit more creativity and delivering on projects rather than spending hours on tasks that we all need to do. And don't get me wrong, there's people involved in my company and wonderful people, and it wouldn't run without them. And I truly believe that that emotive side of any business is super important. Human is super important. I would never just let it run on its own. God forbid would come out of that. But we are all just excited about being able to save time, being able to do more with clients, being able to empower them again, for example, in an ideation process, to use more of their creativity and imagination by involving AI into the process. So something that maybe would hold them back a bit, or they wouldn't know how to express themselves, we can just, again, help them to express themselves better, their ideas, speed up the process, grow the engagement, make them all feel like they can do more versus in the past, and just have a much more elevated experience, I think, whatever we do. So it's from tiny admin tasks to, I think, quite strategic, high stakes ideation, where we can bring in AI to improve all the processes, I guess.
I was going to ask you, you kind of mentioned there, like on a granular level, when you talk about efficiencies and stuff, you're looking at, you kind of spoke to that a little bit, but I'm interested in, yes, there's kind of, there are efficiencies where you can get AI to kind of do stuff for you on a very, not in a non-creative way, but in different ways. But something I saw when I was looking at a little example you'd been doing recently, getting people to try and draw their ideas and kind of start the creative process with them, and then get AI to take that on board. And I thought that's something we came across, that it was certainly it's the takeaway I'm getting from AI at the moment, is that the creativity starts with you, but then it allows you to further express what you would do. What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, so that's the tool and experiential tool. At the moment, we're building with Henry Coutinho Mason, who's an author and a futurist. He doesn't like when I say that. He says he's a reluctant futurist. But I always say, come on, we all talk about the future and you're really good at that. So that product we call Visualiz Futures, and it's all about people first powered AI strategies, and a bit of a mouthful, but really what we're doing with this tool in combination with something I started 10 years ago, which is called Doodly Do. So it's getting people to believe that they can draw. You don't have to be great at it. Just express your ideas, connect. We built communities around the world in around 25 countries through that experience, and it's still going. Actually, in 2 days, I'm doing one private one in All Street. But to give you a context, you're right. At MathFest, we launched it officially, where we ask a question basically to people. So think of it as a more of an entertainment piece rather than the big questions that we're asking with companies, and they're asking us more and more to come in and answer them in a creative way. But we just asked a question, which was literally, imagine a client from 2035. How do they look like? What are they? What an interesting bunch of answers we got. But everyone straight away got, oh my God, I'm drawing. I can't, I'm scared. And it's crazy to me to think about how we lost this language, this type of language in work environment where it's quite frowned upon unless you're a designer or you're a skilled person or your illustration design work is needed. No one's doing it. It's just words and it's just voice. And there's all the data, there's all the backing to say that using visual communication and the way you express yourself gives completely different results, gives much more emotive connection between people, and it gets much more understanding, because that was literally the first language that we used to use, and somehow it got lost in the whole world of whatever society decided to claim that is good for work or it's not. So they doodled. We asked them to scan with their phone over the doodle. It created beautiful, elevated AI-empowered creations and visuals, which were really, really good, rather than, 6 fingers and weird things coming out and all that often we can still see in the process. They were really, really good because we're using a bunch of different tools and LLMs to make that happen, and it's constantly being improved. And then the kind of experiential part was for everyone to see it on the screen, popping in front of them, all their visuals kind of like, well, that's me, that's me, that's me. So that emotion kind of is there, that something I created from nothing, really little doodle that doesn't mean much. I have an idea ready that I can share with my team, I can share with my stakeholders, with my client, whatever that is. So you have this transformational moment in the room straight away, collective transformational moment where everyone feels empowered, excited. They want that visual. They want to see more. And that this is just the first phase of the project, because where we want to take this as we build is to make sure that we have a deep, deep analysis straight from that collective knowing that will tell us what are the themes that are coming out in a second, what are the feelings that are coming out. I dabble a lot in neuroscience. It's my passion. I'm a bit of a geek behind the scenes. So, it will tell us even how something has been drawn, how that informs how people feel about certain part of that visual, of that story. And we're going to create a collective, call it a toolbox, that will tell us very quickly where everyone is with that answer. And that can be, we'll be doubling with Sora to create visual video content. We'll be doubling with written analysis, with white papers, with whatever it is that the client needs to have. And basically where it's going to take us is something that would take 3 to 4 months and a lot of money. It will get us to big answers much quicker, much cheaper, and in a much more empowered, creative way, because suddenly people can be part of that process and express themselves very differently. So there's been a lot of buzz around the tool, the experiences. We started popping up at events and sharing it in Cannes as well. And tomorrow I'm at Creativity Festival in Margate. So it's just interesting what this tool can do. But my job and Henry's is to observe, what are people saying? What's the feedback? How useful is it? What else, what could we do with it rather than just purely entertainment? Make it very useful. So that's what we've been working on behind the scenes.
Sure. And this is, we're talking about the newer at the forefront of everything with AI and what have you, but as I was digging into your history, And you mentioned two keywords there, neuroscience and storytelling. This isn't new for you in one way. You've always, since you launched your business, I think it was 2012, Natalia Design.
Officially, yeah, 2011 it was already rolling, but officially,
officially it was launched. With the taxman will say 2012.
With the bank, exactly. Yeah.
But from that point, you launched an agency that at its heart is this the neuroscience, the visual storytelling, those ideas. You've been doing that for a long time now. That's been at the heart of what you've been doing. And as I discovered, I was like, right, okay, there's Meta, there's Google, Microsoft, the royal family, all of these things. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Tell me how on earth, what happened? WTF, as they say on the internet.
mean, Glenn, I always laugh, and some people took that as can I use this in my talk? I'm like, you use whatever you want. It's all, inspiration left and right. But I always say, do you want the espresso version or the wine version, right, of the story? But I would say it's the quick one is it's a mix of luck. It's a mix of good timing. It's a mix of 20-something-year-old being super passionate about staying in London and making something out of her life, and seeing a bigger picture for what I do, but equally needing someone or something to move me into that direction. And I've been very grateful and lucky again to have met my mentor then, and close friend Darren Robson, who basically changed my life by meeting me for coffee, as you do. I just tweeted him as many other people I would when I was starting out. I didn't even have a business then. I just had ideas. I was working as a special needs teacher, teaching art for many years in London. Then I went to startup because, everyone goes to a startup, and why not? I can do that stuff. But actually I was underpaid. I think it was illegal. I was earning 14K a year. And I know that's years before, but that was already very much illegal to be from 7 to 7 in a company that literally, pays nothing. So you can think about my levels of, I guess, inspiration at that time, and levels of kind of looking into the future. So I've been always a bit of a fighter. That's how I grew up. There's been a lot of kind of, things that happened in my life that formed me into the person that I am and informed my then and now. And I knew that there's something, there was an itch. There's always been an itch to do more. But I didn't have any direction, or I didn't have any idea what I can do with all these, I guess, forming themselves skills. And he was the first person to literally say, this is crazy. We're going to hack you. I'm going to help you. I don't know how yet, but this is my number. Call me when you have a website and business card, whatever kids do these days, as I remember he said. I think at some point he called me stupid, with the biggest love behind that you can think of. And it was one of those power hours, I truly believe that sometimes we need certain people and are put into certain situations for a reason. And that hour just informs the rest of my life and continues to. And it fuels everything that I do, that I learned from him as a person, as a leader, as a business now owner. But then all I had was a little book of examples, a bit of inspiration, energy, hope, and asking for help, asking for some direction. And that's what he gave me.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. The takeaway, we speak a lot about mentorship, and I think it's important. I wouldn't be where I am without having certain mentors in your life. And certainly the kind of English mindset is kind of a little bit anti-mentoring. It's a very American thing, but a lot of British people are like, oh no, that's so that's interesting itself. And I was going to ask, so that's kind of like the how you met this person who kind of, I wondered what, because I'm fascinated by this, and hopefully other people are, but what was it? Obviously you mentioned there was like an element of, right, I need to do something. What was it that kickstarted that need? And also, were you already, obviously you're largely informed by visual and drawing and stuff. Was that already there? Did you think, I'm going to go into the branding, the marketing kind of world? What was that kind of thinking there? I'm intrigued by that.
Well, again, Glenn, depending how close I am with someone, I give them more kind of deeper version of the story or a bit more, I don't want to call it surface because your audience, if you deserve a informative story that can hopefully guide them or inspire them in some way or make them think, oh, that's interesting. But, with the visual side of things, I always call it the longest internship in my life. Drawing has been always in my life since I was a little kid. Like, people say like Adele was probably singing since she's 3. Well, I was drawing since I was a little child. And to be fair with you, it all was lovely, kind of a way to spend your time and a hobby, but also it was my escapism. It was my safe place. I grew up in quite a chaotic household at times. So it was something that allowed me to fully immerse myself into this very safe world where everything is colorful and I can make anything out of it. So when I think about the hours I spent on developing my skill without even subconsciously thinking about it for a second, I mean, Disney and manga stories and the whole world of that visual storytelling should be getting some sort of percent from every job that we get, because I am forever grateful how that as well informed my style, my creativity, just studying all the biggest storytellers in the world and copying for hours. That's definitely, again, something that just created itself. And I'm so grateful that I went that way. But when it comes to, this kind of like, what was that sort of like drive, and what was that sort of feeling? Again, I think there was just a feeling of knowing that, I don't know how to describe this to you, but knowing that there's more waiting out there for me. And what I mean by that is not necessarily more money or more power or whatever that is. That comes as a byproduct if you do a good work for people. But it was about very much just touching more people with the skill that I have. And also very much quickly when I learned how it feels to be seen by someone and to be understood and to be given an opportunity to do something creative with my life and to use my wonderful skills to actually help other people, how interesting that started to feel, where I can do what I love and I'm paid for what I do and people get benefits from that. What a lovely ikigai kind of moment, right, in life. I just felt that, it really sucks to not feel seen, and it's a very difficult place to be in. And I experienced that a lot in my childhood. And I think that also just kind of informed this kind of, I want more people to feel like they're seen and their stories and what they're about and bring that to life. And I've got these skills. Why wouldn't I use them in a larger way and impact more people? So these are the things that you learn kind of when you're in your 30s. If you ask me that question in my 20s, I would just say, well, I've always been creative and excited and ambitious and whatever. But yes, and there's these deeper reasons, these deeper drivers behind why I continue to feel that fuel of need of connecting people and making them feel like their stories matter.
Yeah, well, it's funny, isn't it? I consider myself, I've got more flaws than I've got strengths, but one of my strengths, I can always have I can kind of perceive things quite well. And as soon as I was looking around your world, Natalia, and seeing what you've been doing, I'm glad you said it yourself just then in the answer. There's clearly a drive. You can see it. It emanates from everything that you do. It's a vibe. It's a authenticity that kind of comes out. And you obviously don't get to the success that you've had without that kind of drive. But I wondered, for from the entrepreneurship, we all work in a kind of a world where we're trying to tell stories and communicate. So that's like where the connection with, maybe you're a copywriter or you're a marketer or you're a visual storyteller, you're a designer, what have you. What, from your experience, and it is what a brilliant experience, and you've obviously earned that going through. What kind of, I hate the word, but what like entrepreneurship lessons would you advise people? What have you learned over that kind of decade and more of running that particular business, and also doing the side project, the doodly one, the thing that you're doing now with the AI? What
Fringe.
would you advise people, like, what's been your biggest takeaways for kind of for not you inherently need that drive. You can't necessarily recreate that, but how do you maybe harness it? How do you control it and push it in the right direction?
I mean, again, I could give so many answers. I always try to think which one would be best for your audience. But at the end of the day, it goes down for me to what I've done, and I know that it works. First of all, talk to people. Like, I don't see enough amazing, interesting, wonderful, creative people talking to people, sharing stories about the world they inhabit and the world that they know and the skills that they have and what they bring to the world. And unfortunately, I think the world is built in a way where a lot of us feel, and I understand where that all comes from, again, looking at neuroscience and looking at psychology, how our brains work, we feel so much that we need to have this perfect almost persona, and we won't share something before it's perfect. And I just never believed in something called perfect. I don't think there's anything perfect in this world, starting with relationships to work to the way the world is constructed. Everything's a bit of a mess and everything's a bit of a chaos, and there's peaceful moments within that chaos, but we wouldn't be where we are if there was no chaos, and nothing kind of really comes from perfection. I think the best ideas and the best innovation comes from mistakes and failures, whatever you want to call it, which is, again, proud upon, right? Like, ooh, I made a mistake. Well, I just made, like, this week probably 3. So, and here I am. So I would say that, number one, talk to people. Please share your ideas. They won't happen unless you come out of your shell. And if you're shy to speak to people, write about it. If you are shy to write about it, make videos. If you are shy to be in front of camera, use AI tools that will make an avatar out of you and create stories there. There's millions of ways, many, many more than I had or you had when we were starting what we're doing. I just had like little Twitter. Thanks to Twitter, I even met that person. Thank God, forever my favorite platform, unless, now it's called X, so let's not go there. I'm feeling very emotional about it. But there's so many tools and ways now to join communities, to meet people, to go for breakfast, to write things, to start a Substack, to share on LinkedIn. And to be fair with you, it really depends how you think about the world, because if you're someone who'll be like, LinkedIn, that's your belief. I think the world that we create, the thoughts that we have, create the world that we inhabit. So change your thinking, different things will happen. If you're staying in the same thinking, don't be surprised that the same things are happening. I'm the biggest kind of challenger of my own brain, of everyone else's. It loves to create chaos. It loves to create negative environment. It loves to play with your confidence. Try to look at it as there's me and there's brain, and it's 2 different things. It doesn't mean that what is here, it's me. And let's see what it thinks and what it creates today. And whenever it's something that it's a bit like, don't do it, it's not perfect, challenge it and still share it and see what happens. If it feels awful, well, at least you've done it. You learned something.
Yeah, being open and open to opportunity. And as you say, just telling your story, not worrying about getting things wrong. I guess it's easy to say that. I don't mean that in a sense. It's easy to say. People I know from speaking to thousands of copywriters, it's often hard to express yourself, but you somehow need to find a way to, and it comes from listening to people and seeing the experience that you've had, Natalia, of putting yourself out there, finding that, and you see that that's how people succeed. That's how it does. It's the spider in the bath. That's as scared as you are of it, kind of thing. And as if you can open that, then you end up in a very good place, and good things come to you, as you've seen and experienced yourself. So I think it's fantastic advice. I'm amazed, and I've got more to discover about the work that you've been doing, Natalia. I'm looking forward to digging into it even more myself. Where would you advise people go to find out more about you in the first instance? What's like your primary resource, would you say?
Well, I would say that, LinkedIn is the place where I kind of share the most. It's almost on a daily, which again, people find difficult, but I'm like, well, it's a few minutes every morning or afternoon or a pre-plan or whatever. And there's always a way, like I spent on this more time than I plan my next post. So like I always think these days, no matter what's your life, if you have time to comment on, a few times on LinkedIn or Instagram that you don't have time, well, you can have spend that time to do something else. So LinkedIn is the first place, my name or the business name, and there's always website, natalkadesign.com. So I would say these two places are where we inhibit most these days.
Everybody should check out what Natalia is doing, because it's, as I say, it's just impressive. And I find it's interesting to be inspired by people and see what's going on there. And but yes, so thank you so much for coming on the show, Natalia. Thanks for sharing your story. Tell us a little bit about AI. Hopefully next time we'll get you involved in whatever in-person things we do, so we can all get together and meet properly. Thank you very much.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
If you enjoy The Fix and want to get access to even more good stuff, join the Fix Accelerator today. Get access to special masterclasses from Nick and me, watch expert interviews with industry legends, join live copy feedback sessions every week, and get connected to our very own private copy network. Visit thefixaccelerator.com for more information.